What's up, my people? It's been a minute. I've been really busy the past couple of months trying to get my ducks in order to start traveling. I'm traveling right now, currently in a different country. Let me go ahead and open up the window here so you guys can hear all this action going on outside. All right, you guys hear that? Cool. So yeah, if you guys hear some things in the background, just know I got some windows open. The blinds are flying everywhere. It just is what it is. But today's topic, I want to jump back in here and start this off with a bang. Something I've been kind of thinking about, and that is every man's relationship with power. Now, society doesn't like to talk about power. The average set of parents doesn't really like to talk about power. Especially if you were born to a single mother, she probably has no idea. She has an idea just only in her world, and she doesn't usually bestow that upon her son. So, most guys are kind of growing up blind. And it's very important that you as a man, you start to form a relationship with power so you can understand power and know when it's being given to you, when it's being taken from you, and how you're able to give and take from others. So, just listen to this with an open mind, and let's just go ahead and dive right in. So, there's a couple, I'll just kind of go off of my childhood. One of the things with power in me, I was always the taller person in class. I wouldn't necessarily say bigger, even though I was, I guess, because I wasn't a fat, child. I didn't start gaining weight till maybe my mid-teens, or I'll say preteen, teens. But essentially, I was always the bigger kid, and of course, my voice was somewhat like this all the time. So that being said, power was always given to me, whether I liked it or not. It was always given to me. Usually, most people who have a slight intimidation or a slight fear that you can hurt them, they give you power. It's just like a natural thing, almost a subconscious, unconscious thing. They just do. And so I grew up with that. And for me, when I was very sensitive to the point to where I can see that people were intimidated or they were afraid of me. And I was I didn't want people to be intimidated or afraid of me. And so all of the excess power that would come my way, what I would usually do is I would give it away. I would give it to other people. I would give it back to them. Because, I think of it like, you don't have to give me any extra because, we're buddies, we're friends. We could just kind of, be one-to-one. It's fine. But it's a weird thing with human beings and when you give them power, because not everybody can handle power. Not everybody, when they're given a lot of power or a lot of money or a form of power, they don't use it in a way that benefits everybody. They just use it in a way that benefits themselves. And what usually happened was it was power given to me giving it back. And of course, this was over a long period of time. This isn't instant. But it's power given to me giving power back. And then they seeing that as weakness, as saying, oh, okay, well then now, since he doesn't utilize his power in the way that I will utilize the power, I'm going to take advantage of that. And so, of course, when that happens, now a natural unbalance has occurred, because it went from 1-to-1, which is I have power, they have power, to then giving me some of their power. So I'm a 1.5. They're at a 0.5, to me giving the power back 1-to-1. And now they say, oh, you were more powerful than me and you didn't treat me as somebody who was under you, subservient, yada, yada, whatever word you want to use. And then they say, okay, well then I could take power from you because you don't know how to use your power. And a lot of my childhood was like that. And I didn't like that simply because I was and I've always had this thought in the back of my head. I just never expressed it, where it's you can't punk me because you can't beat me in a fight. I've always felt that way about a lot of people. It's you can't punk me because you can't win in a fight against me. You know what I mean? And I was the person, like, I liked fighting. You know, it was one of those things where I wasn't afraid to fight. But here again, because of how I was raised and the relationship with power that wasn't given to me, I wasn't, how do I put this? I wasn't given permission to utilize power. Now, as a grown man, I realize that you don't need, nobody has to give you permission. It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. But as a kid, you know, you're raised in the school system to raise your hand to get permission to do everything. Get permission to go to the bathroom, get permission to switch classes, get permission to speak. And so, you know, mix that with television programming at the time. What usually happens is you get stuck, especially as men, we get stuck in this thing where we have to ask people to utilize our gifts. And here's something that if you didn't notice, you might notice now, some of you at least, if you've ever watched cartoons, and I don't know about the newer ones, I don't really watch cartoons like that anymore, but in the older ones, what you'll notice, if there's ever like a group setting, there's always like a big guy, right? He's bigger than everybody else. He's clearly stronger than everybody else. He's a really big guy. They always, in those cartoons, they always make those guys the pacifist. They always make those guys never utilize their powers for leadership. Those guys are always following some guy who's usually shorter or smaller than him. And there's a reason for that. Because again, we can't have everybody who is naturally taller, naturally bigger, naturally more dominant, assertive, aggressive, utilize their power to realize, like, wait a minute, I can take all of you guys on. You're going to do whatever I say. You know what I mean? But, you know, back in the day, that's kind of how it was, you know, before this whole system came into play where we tried to redefine power in various aspects, like pseudo titles such as your job. How many managers have you had who were, you know, 4'11", 5'1", and they talk to you as if they can whoop your ass? It's like, you know, it's pseudo power. Money is also pseudo power. You could utilize money a lot to influence and get power, but at the end of the day, there's always this underlying thing that we as men understand about power, and it's whenever you just look another man in the eyes, and you get two things, and you know, of course, this depends on your background and your training, of course, but you get two things. You get I could take that guy, right, easily, or it'll be a fight, you know, and then of course, if you have confidence, you'll say, you know, I'll fight that I'll win, but you know that you're going to get hurt in that process. And then you meet guys, and a lot of guys try to fake this, but I mean, come on, let's be real. There's some guys that you're just like, I would lose that. I would lose that if you're being honest. And so it's the reason why I'm saying all this is because as a man, you have to recognize that you have power, and you have to understand that it's not your job to give people power. It's not your job to give people power. And in fact, you have to play this dance to where you are maintaining your own power, but if somebody tries to take your power away, that you utilize your power to then correct it, and then on top of that, take some of their power. This is where it gets on the darker side, at least in society's terms, where we can start having an adult conversation. This is very important. This is where we start getting into man talk. This is where we start getting into leadership talk, right? It's one of those things where it's like, what is it? If you have somebody in your tribe, right? You're the leader of a tribe. You have this guy in your tribe, and you have a rule that says, you know, you don't steal from other people. And somebody has stolen from somebody else. It's like, what do you do? And I want you to view this as a power thing, because what he has done is he has undermined your leadership. He has undermined the power that you are. And it's very important to maintain that, because if he can get away with it, that means everybody else can get away with it. So something has to be done. This is the thing that a lot of guys don't want to face within themselves. If somebody is trying to take power from you, you know, nowadays it's not that big of a deal. You can just kind of just remove yourself from those individuals and then kind of move on with your life. But you can't do that every time, you know? There are some instances to where you're going to have to, when somebody tries to take power from you, you're going to have to correct it and then take power from them. So let's go back to the stealing example. It's like, what do you do? What do you do? You know, and that's where, you know, because you guys know I study different countries and stuff in their past. This is where it gets very interesting because you get to see how different leaders handle different things. You guys, and again, some of these things may be back in the day. I'm sure things change now, yada, yada, whatever. But it happened before. There's some people that, you know, when you steal, you go to prison, they just take your time away, which, you know, that's huge. You know, time is everything that you have. It's the only gift that God gave you. You know, so you take your time away. And everybody's like, okay. And that's kind of, everybody's like, in everybody's mind, he's like, yeah, we get that. We understand that. Give him some time or take some of his time away, yada, yada. There are other people in other tribes, they cut one of your hands off. Whatever hand you took to take it with, they cut that hand off. You had to give something in return. And it's like when you enter that part, a lot of people, you would be shocked how many people would be okay with taking a criminal's arm. Or hand. I just made it a whole thing, you know. But no, his arm. Why do I keep saying that? His hand. They take his hand away. A lot of people can, because we look at it, because again, it's a logical thing. It's a 1 or a 0. It's a you did or you didn't. And so a lot of people look at it as if you knew what you were doing. If you cross that line, then you lose it. It's simple as that. It's like if you take poison, like rat poison. You know, there is no, oh, we'll take, you know, some of his life off. No, it's like, you're going to die. That's it. Curtains, you know? And so, and this is where, you know, it's your relationship with your masculinity and your leadership as a man and how you handle things. Well, understand something. In this world where you want to be a kumbaya or a good guy or a fair and honest, you got to understand that everybody else is not fair and honest, and everybody doesn't care about being a good person. And sometimes the only way that you can get through to those people is if you cut off their hands, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? And so how does this relate to real world? So how can I get off of this cutting off your hands? Because I don't want you guys to cut people's hands off, okay? Right? But what I mean by that is sometimes you'll be in situations to where somebody will take power from you. And what that looks like is just somebody trying to little bro you, or somebody trying to punk you, or somebody try to, you know, whatever. You know, and most times, most people will teach you like, oh, just let it go, turn the other cheek, yada, yada. But that's not good, because a person will take your power away and they're not going to give it back. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like the bully effect. If a person realizes that they can bully you, guess what? They're going to continue to bully you. However, if a person's bullying you and then you punch them in the face, guess what? The bullying stops. Why? Because they realize that if they're gonna take something from you, you're going to take something from them. You get what I'm saying? And you know, a lot of pacifists or people who don't think right or think correctly will say things like, you know, I can't do that because, you know, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind, right? And that doesn't make any sense either if you really think about it, because it's like if an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind and you don't do that, the only people who are going to have eyes are the people who are stabbing people's eyes in the first place. Do you really understand that? A lot of people just say that, and they just say things they don't really get it. It's like you have a guy who stabbed somebody's eye, and the guy whose eye got stabbed did nothing about it because he doesn't want to return that energy. So guess what's going to happen? He's going to get his other eye taken. And then guess what's going to happen? Another person's going to get their eye taken. And it's like, at what point do we kind of sit back and we take the guy who's stabbing people's eyes out? When do we take his eyes? But just that example, a lot of society will forgive and forget these individuals who are taking people's eyes. And again, these are sayings, but this is what it is. And so you have to make sure that in your own personal life, especially with power, that you don't allow that to happen. Because for one, you know, again, if you're a single guy and it's only you and you don't care about life and you don't care about society and you don't care about anything or making friends or nothing of that matter, nothing like that, it's like, bro, you can do whatever you want. Nobody cares, right? But you can't have that mentality if you want to be in a relationship. You can't have that mentality if you want to have a family. You can't have that mentality when you are in charge of other people, because again, because you are the forefront, you are the person in head, you represent these other individuals. You get what I'm saying? So if I can punk, if they can punk you, that means they can punk your wife, because you're not going to do anything about it. And they're going to punk your kids, and you're not going to do anything about it, and they're not going to do anything about it, because they're following under your leadership and under your philosophy. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's one of those things that a lot of guys don't want to do it, but it's very important that you do it, because again, it'll serve you. And one of the things that I realized is I don't want people to fear me. I don't really care about that. I don't want people to admire me. I don't really care about that either. But one of the things that I do want people to do is I want people to, and I hope this is the correct word, is respect me. Because if there's one of the things that, and that comes in a way where it's like, I'm not asking for a person's respect, I'm demanding a person's respect from me. You know, it's like, I'm not going to go out here and do charitable actions or whatever to try to get somebody's respect. I don't care about that. I care about you respect me enough that you won't try something. That way you don't make my life or my family's life any more harder than it needs to be. And in order, sometimes there's a lot of guys who just respect people off rip. There are a lot of guys who, they look at you like, okay, I have a good judge of character. But there are those people who, they have nothing to live for, man. They don't care. And so they're going to try you, or they're going to do something to you. And I need you to understand that a lot of guys watch too many TV shows, watch too much anime, and they believe that when something like this happens, that they're going to unlock some secret core within them, and they're going to become this super powerful level 5 demon and be able to take out the entire city. That's not real life, bro. Real life is, you're going to have to really take care of that. And a lot of guys will never give themselves permission to enable their dark side. Does that make sense? To where you're going to have to hurt somebody, or you're going to have to eye for an eye. A lot of guys don't practice that. And usually, just most examples, they're really small stuff. It's nothing crazy, but you really have to get used to that side of yourself, because it's going to serve as a protection, not only for you, your life, but your family, your children, etc., etc. And just your development as a man. This is like a man's thing, this is not a boy's thing, okay? There is no do the right thing here anymore. There's doing what's right for you in your life, and everything, your community and stuff like that, things that you care about according to your philosophy. Okay, I think I got everything out. If you have any questions, let me know down below. If you have any thoughts about this yourself, if you disagree with me, let me know. If you agree with this, let me know. Put something down in the comments, and with that, guys, I'll see y'all in the next one. All right, peace out.